Tyler in Washington. Tyler, you are on the line with Adalind and Jimmy. How are you, Tyler?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
I'm just fine. It says you are MAGA, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And you're up in Washington State. Are you in some of the more red areas, or do you live like in the Seattle area?
I'm about an hour south of Seattle, so kind of like
Okay,
purple-ish.
in the purple areas. Do you have any
Yeah,
black friends?
like
No, I'm
kind of in the
kidding. That's
middle.
just a reference to the last call. Purplish area. Do you have any blue-haired friends? It is Seattle area. I imagine so.
Yes, I do have friends who are liberals.
No,
I
blue-haired.
do have friends
Doesn't
who
have to
are
be liberal.
very liberal, and we disagree on politics, and we are still
Any
friends anyway.
leftists?
Um,
Any leftist friends?
I
Like
don't know. Me and my
socialists?
friends really don't talk about politics that much.
That that might be a good choice to maintain friendships at times. Um, let's see.
I agree.
You're Tyler. How old are you, if you don't mind?
I am 21 years old.
So this last election was your first presidential election you voted in,
Yes, that's correct.
and you voted for Trump over Kamala.
Yes.
Did you vote in any local elections before that one?
I don't think before that election, but I have voted in other local elections during and after the presidential election.
Okay, cool. That's good. You should get local elections can have a much bigger impact on your life than well, I say that's good in a broad sense. It sounds like politically I wish you
Yes.
probably wouldn't vote at all, but you have the right. Anyway,
I'm
and
sure you
then
wouldn't.
oh, I would very much prefer that all MAGA individuals just stayed home the way that they try to
I'm sure you would.
make a lot of people stay home with their terrible laws. But go ahead, Tyler. What is the actual position you want to present here?
So I am an abortion abolitionist. It is similar to being pro-life, but there are key differences.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure I'm not sure if you know what an abolitionist is. If you don't, I am happy to educate you.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, of course, I've spoken to abolitionists before. However, I'm still going to tell you to describe it because there's how many people watching right now? 1,100 people watching at the moment who may not, and I may get a feature of your abolitionism wrong because none of you agree on everything 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's accurate. So my position is very similar to pro-life. The main difference is that any person who gets an abortion, whether it be the person performing the abortion or the woman receiving the abortion, should go to prison on murder charges because they are committing an act of murder, and it is no different than me killing a 2-year-old toddler.
It is no different than you killing a 2-year-old what?
It's a 2-year-old toddler.
It's no different than killing a 2-year-old toddler.
So I'm
Well,
curious.
there is no moral difference.
No moral difference. So you do acknowledge there are literal
Yes.
differences. And how significant do you think
There
there
are
are differences?
literal and physiological differences, yes, but there are no moral differences. And the literal and physiological differences are irrelevant.
And so what would be the basis of your moral objection?
Because the child is a human being from conception, and we should not kill living human beings unless they are presenting a threat to someone's life or serious bodily harm.
Okay. And you don't think a pregnancy, I think that is an extremely unnuanced take. And even when you say human being, if you simply mean Homo sapien, certainly we agree that they're both Homo sapiens, but whether or not simply being a Homo sapien gives you the right to stay alive no matter what sort of parasitic effect you have on somebody else is where we're going to disagree. So you believe that a embryo, a fetus, they aren't doing bodily harm to anybody else?
zygote, embryo, or fetus. They are not doing any, or, well, they could be causing bodily harm, but it's not intentional because they do not have consciousness or the ability to think or reason.
Okay, and why would consciousness not come into play when establishing whether or not a person gets identified as a human being with a right to life?
Because it is irrelevant. Because consciousness does not determine your moral worth.
Where I'd say it's completely relevant. That if I've had zero conscious experience, that even if we then said abortion should only be legal at whatever point, which I don't need to rely on because it violates autonomy anyway. But if we come to the point of if we were getting into when would an abortion need more consideration from a moral perspective, if I as an individual have had no conscious experience or don't have a potential for future conscious experience and I'm currently in a state of no conscious experience, I don't think there's any obligation from any other living entity to make sure that that life continues on or achieves conscious experience, because it's impossible to have slighted somebody. Much like when I was a sperm or when I was an egg, there was no reason that you must make sure that I reach a level of consciousness, which, by the way, sperm and egg are also living entities. They just haven't combined yet. There's a lot of the arguments you would make for conception.
Yes,
you can actually just make for their individual
new human DNA.
Doesn't matter. It legitimately doesn't matter. It's as far as the actual experience of humanity goes. If you haven't have it or you can't have it in the future, much like it is not. Maybe you're opposed to this, but if a person is lost, if they are brain dead and they have lost their ability to ever regain consciousness, come out of the coma or whatever else, are you opposed to pulling the plug on people who are brain dead but their bodies are still alive, who aren't having a conscious experience anymore?
Well, no, I think those types of situations should be left up to the family.
Okay, and I think that whether or not
parents,
the person
siblings,
who is
children,
not having a conscious experience, and I think the person who's not having a conscious experience and can't be slighted because they are brain dead should be left up to the person whose body that thing is leeching off of, and whether or not they want to maintain that parasitic relationship with it.
Okay, a baby is not a parasite.
Yes, it is.
A parasite must be... No.
Yes.
Scientifically, a parasite must be a different species than the host. So
except
no,
for what I said was parasitic. So
parasite.
you are trying to get very you're trying to be pedantic and change what I said. The relationship is absolutely parasitic. And in fact, I could describe you as, if you were a bad boyfriend to your girlfriend, I could also justify that your emotional relationship is parasitic. But if you then went, no, because I'm not a different species, I'm not a leech, therefore the abuse that I'm showing my girlfriend right now is non-parasitic, that would be absurd. So if you change the words I say, your argument might make some sense, but I'm not even convinced that you actually know the biological side of any of this either.
Okay, so you're saying the baby behaves like a parasite.
It's parasitic.
So you're saying the baby is parasitic. So the baby is not behaving in a parasitic manner because the baby is doing, it's simply doing what it is biologically intended to do. Is create
so it's a tapeworm.
Right. You just said it's not a parasite because it's not a different species, but then you described the reason it's not parasitic, which would apply to every single parasite. They're just doing what they're biologically designed to do.
Yeah, like a tapeworm isn't an evil thing, but I don't want one inside of me. That would be pretty gross.
Yes, I agree with you there. I don't like tapeworms either.
Would you want to get rid of it if there was one inside of you?
If I had a tapeworm, yes, I would get rid of the tapeworm. I do not
It's just
think
doing what it's
tapeworms
biologically
are
designed
morally
to do,
equivalent
though.
to human beings.
So when we come to this human being thing, let's be honest and get to their fast. Hang on, Tyler.
How is a tapeworm relevant here?
Because you described why a baby isn't parasitic, and you used what every single. By the way, if we can get rid of the number one, it's just annoying me, Luthien. If you'd get the one out of there. You described why it isn't parasitic, and then you described the way every single parasite in existence behaves. So that's why it's relevant. Can we, Tyler, can we just skip forward all the things I'm going to have to do to get you to admit that in the end, your thing is based on a religious idea, that you don't actually have an objective argument for it, but in fact, your insistence is that you have a religious idea?
I do not follow any religion.
So you believe you have an objective way to demonstrate that they are a human being and there is an objective moral requirement that you keep the human being alive until it reaches consciousness, and that a person who has consented to having sex has consented to even an unintentional other human being subsisting off of its body in a parasitic manner.
Yes, that's correct.
Go for it. Make that argument.
Using a combination of science and philosophy, I can prove that.
Go ahead.
Well, science, philosophy, morals, ethics, logic, all of these.
Where are you going to get morals, ethics, and logic if not from philosophy? I don't know why you need these extra terms.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So the problem with your argument about consciousness
no, sir,
is that under your standards,
sir, you just said you were going to prove it. Excuse me, Tyler, you just said you were going to prove your point. Proving your point won't need to bring up mine at all. You don't even know what my position is.
I can guess.
Okay, great. Now defend yours. Guess what you think it is. You can guess what you think it is, and it'll probably be more nuanced than you think it is.
You support abortion either up until the moment of consciousness or up until the moment of birth.
Moment of birth.
Or possibly the ability to
actually, by the way, you also support a lot of abortions up until the moment of birth. You just don't like it if the fetus dies too, because aborting a pregnancy late term most often is just via delivery. Abortion doesn't necessitate the death.
Yes,
but if you
correct.
have to do something late term.
But
yes, not only am I pro late term abortion is some of the most important reasons that we make it not illegal, because the overwhelming, almost entirety of late term abortions that occur, the overwhelming number of them.
Save the
yes,
not even just to save the woman, it's to save the suffering of the fetus that's going to die.
In which the baby dies.
Okay,
or, well, the baby
and you know
dies.
what? The late term abortions in which a baby dies are also extremely important that we preserve. Because what I was going to say is the overwhelming majority, before Tyler, you interrupted, are things like, hey, this baby is going to be born without kidneys. So which means that the blood will have backed up into their lungs. There is nothing we can do to stop it. You will deliver this baby, and that baby, which you did want, and you've already begun to love and name, you are going to watch it drown and die on the table in front of you. Or we could put a sheet. We don't have to make you watch, but that's what's going to happen. Alternatively, we can terminate your pregnancy now. They can go to sleep and never wake up, and we can stop them from suffering. That's what a late-term abortion looks like, and why we cannot make them illegal, because adding a level of bureaucracy to whether some Bible-thumping nonsense person thinks that they should go ahead and do that, not on the basis of the actual scientific claims, not on the basis on the actual medical claims, but on whether or not Bob feels like that abortion is justified, would add a level of bureaucracy and take away a level of freedom from Americans that not only is not worth it because it's unjustified, but because it's actually cruel to the babies actually getting late-term abortions. Late-term abortions are arguably even more important to not letting the government get in the way of.
I'm also curious.
So
I'm not sure.
I just have to make one correction there.
I
just have to make a correction there. Your description of how a late-term abortion happens is not correct.
And yet
it is wildly incorrect.
Great, prove it. Because mine is actually coming from having collaborated directly with doctors who perform abortions and data.
What was that?
Mine actually comes from actually working with and collaborating with actual doctors who perform abortions and data. So go ahead and give me the correction. And then hopefully,
have you seen videos of it?
You will prove the thing that you've said
have
you
will
will
watched
prove.
An abortion happen?
Literally, that is a fallacy.
Have you watched an abortion, Jimmy?
In what way is that not a fallacy? By the way, the answer is yes, I actually have, but it literally doesn't matter to the argument.
Okay, so
I've even watched the abortions your side wants me to watch. I've watched the James O'Keefe videos.
So, Jimmy, if if there was an abortion
Yeah.
or a late-term abortion that
Mm-hmm.
snapped a baby's spine,
Mm-hmm.
crushed their skull, ripped
Mm-hmm.
their limbs apart, and injected poison into their spine, heart, and brain, would you support that abortion?
You haven't given enough information.
What more information do you need?
Sure. Is that the only way the abortion could be performed? Is it the way that is the most what's the word? Humane, both to the mother and to the fetus? Is the fetus even capable of suffering? Therefore, are what happens to its body parts or anything relative? When this dismemberment is happening, as you're describing, is this dismemberment happening post or pre-death? Because we dismember living bodies. Have you ever seen an autopsy? Those things are fucking, or not living bodies, adult bodies. Autopsies are fucking brutal to watch too, since we're doing the fallacy of, have you ever seen it? You have not given enough information.
Autopsy myself.
Great. You haven't, and it's an irrelevant point and equally fallacious when I raise it. So you haven't given enough information. You've just described that this experience is viscerally uncomfortable. And I would be viscerally uncomfortable with the experience, but you clearly haven't given enough information.
Okay, so if everything I just described happened while the baby was alive and and able to feel pain, would you be against that?
Well, first of all, if it's a baby, yes, because a baby is necessarily outside of the body, and there are already laws to prevent it. But if that was the only way to abort an abortion, to abort a fetus, and the individual needed an abortion because that was a violation of autonomy, I probably would support it, but luckily that is not the case.
Okay, so Jimmy, I have one question for you. What does the word fetus
When
mean?
are you going to get to proving your thing that you said you were going to prove? Because so far you've been focusing on hypotheticals that are nonsense.
What does the word fetus mean?
When are you going to get to your thing?
Jimmy,
right? When are you?
You aren't answering my question. What does
Of
the
course
word
I'm not, because
mean?
I've asked you multiple times now to prove it. You've already, and by the way, why would this matter? Are you going to prove your thing, or are you just going to now try to get pedantic on bullshit?
False claim.
What false claim did I make?
Because you made a false claim.
What
said
false
that
claim did I make?
That a fetus is not a baby.
I said that a baby is necessarily outside of the womb.
Being.
I have no problem with people describing their fetus as a baby, but that a baby is necessarily outside of the womb. It is what we describe as the first phase of postnatal childhood development, not prenatal.
Do you believe that a fetus is a baby?
I believe a fetus is an unborn offspring, but I have no problem with a person who has named their fetus colloquially calling it a baby.
This is going to be a baby.
Okay.
Hopefully.
So now that I've answered your question about the definition of a fetus, are you going to answer mine? What is your proof? Because you have said you can prove it and then have only focused on bullshit hypotheticals that have nothing to do with what's actually happening on reality and doing everything but prove the point that you're saying you're going to be able to do scientifically and ethically when, as far as your ethical is going to go, it's all going to be an emotional argument. That's what it's going to go for. But you have to avoid that and try and go, look, Jimmy said he would support the mutilation and harm of a baby if it came to this, and it's stuff that isn't happening. So please do go on with your proof.
Okay, so you said that an abortion before consciousness is morally justified. So
I don't think, I think,
your...
excuse me, let me go ahead and correct you. I think abortion in general is amoral, regardless of when it happens, but that there could be things surrounding the abortion that adds to it. So an abortion, amoral. Aborting a conscious being potentially has the potential for moral considerations. However, that moral consideration, when balanced against a violation of autonomy and whether or not an individual cares to continue to be pregnant, because it would ultimately still be okay in that scenario, the abortion would still be amoral. But again,
so
I just asked you to prove, and you're saying, so you're saying.
So I just tried to start
this
proving
is where your proof is coming?
You didn't let me.
Go ahead. No, you didn't start proving it. You asked me
said...
about my claim again. You asked me about mine. You're trying to scrutinize my position, which is all over the internet, instead of presenting yours with the proof that it actually has. You haven't begun to do that.
My proof is that it's common sense.
That's not proof. Lots of things are common sense that are also untrue.
So you're saying it's not common sense to avoid the death of human beings.
Correct. No, that common sense is not adequate justification about avoiding the death of human beings on multiple tiers, because your definition of human being is far too broad and where you are defining it. But death in general, excuse me, we're all going to die. And literally the government right now doesn't try to do anything to extend any of our lives. They're in fact content with a lot of us dying and not giving us universal healthcare, which I assume to be consistent, you think is a tragedy that the government is not giving us universal healthcare and making sure that we're avoiding the death of living human beings, right? You are full Medicare for all, Medicaid
for all. I do not support universal healthcare because it doesn't work.
Okay. So Tyler, you're also a hypocrite. So now go ahead and give your proof of your actual position instead of continually making everything. So you're saying, so your position is make it just yours and don't use appeals to common sense. Otherwise you will look like a common fool.
Okay. So how do I say this?
Oh, I can tell you. You say, I don't know what I'm talking about, and I concede this argument. That's the pronunciation.
I do know what I'm
talking about.
Go ahead, Adalind.
Sure, Adalind. Hit me.
Since we're kind of just stuck on this topic, I do kind of just want to switch it up again, and I want to know your take on the abortion pills.
Well, we know he's against it. He's against from conception all abortions.
Yes, that's correct. But, well, all abortions that intentionally kills the baby that is still alive. So the abortion pill can be done in a few ways. Sorry, what was that?
Oh, I was asking, do you think a blastocyst is considered a fetus?
Sorry, a what?
A blastocyst, that's what it's called. When a sperm meets an egg, it becomes a zygote, and then when it starts to divide, it's literally only like 4-8 cells until it eventually becomes a fetus.
You're being unfair to Tyler. You're using terms outside of common sense, and he's already said his arguments only work in common sense. He fancies himself a gynecologist, but who went to the school of common sense, not like a medical school. So you're being kind of mean to Tyler.
If it is after conception, then yes, it is a child. Yes.
So like a clump of literally 8, 16, 32 cells has as much, if not more rights than me. Do you?
If it is human cells that has been conceived, then yes, it is a child.
And he's still not going to prove that, by the way. Yeah. This is the whole point. Prove that. Prove that they deserve the same number of rights and the right to subsist off of somebody else's body.
Science.
Do it.
Look up a biology textbook. Any biology textbook will tell you that life begins at conception.
I was just starting to talk about biology.
Yeah. It's literally 32 cells deserve the exact same amount of consideration and in fact can override the consideration of the life of somebody else with no consideration for consciousness when we are describing things that are in a scope of morality and whether or not. As far as if you want to go to a completely full nihilistic science only thing, then killing nothing is bad because the universe doesn't give a shit. Life and death are barely different states on a universal scale. The closer you get to just science, the less this will support you. You clearly have to come in with arguments of morality. And right now, when we extend rights to people, clearly throughout history, we have been achieving better human rights, achievements of human rights as we have gone toward the autonomy of an individual and not as we take it away. And you're sitting here saying like science supports that you must. Here is my ought and where I lay the claim. And yet this isn't where science has laid any kind of claim. You're just saying like these cells have Hey, Tyler, how important is it that we put the placenta on life support once the placenta has been delivered?
The placenta is not the human baby. The placenta
Yes, it is. It is a
Part of
genetic
it.
twin. It is a genetic twin to the fetus. It is a genetic twin, and it is alive. It has the exact same DNA. So, how important is it that we
Does
keep it
it
alive?
have the capacity for consciousness after birth?
Doesn't matter. You just said 8 cells doesn't have the capacity for consciousness. 32 cells doesn't. The capacity for consciousness doesn't develop later. And in fact, because of genetic defects, those 32 cells potentially will one day never achieve that. And some of those cells will become the placenta.
The placenta is not the baby. It is a genetic
The placenta
twin of
is
the
a
baby,
genetic
yes,
twin.
It
It is a
baby.
living creature with human DNA, new DNA of combined sperm and egg. So how important is
Connected
it that we put it
directly.
in? Because you're sitting here acting like
It
the
is not
potential of
important
consciousness.
because it will not grow up to be a human being. It has no
Tyler,
life
every
potential.
one of your sperm has the potential for future consciousness. So all the times you've masturbated, like the 6 times so far today, you've committed genocide.
Okay. No. A sperm
was
by
7 times?
itself does not have the capacity to become life because
Who cares about by itself?
has
The
not
32 cells by
combined with
themselves
the
without
egg.
continuing on. And thank you for saying that, though, Tyler. The continuation of consciousness by itself can't happen. So a fetus that has not achieved consciousness cannot achieve consciousness by itself if you sever its connection to its parasitic host, the host that it is parasitically subsisting off of. If you sever its connection, it will, independent of that connection, be incapable of achieving consciousness. So for the same reason that it's not genocide in your sock drawer right now, it's not genocide when we are aborting babies.
Okay, and if I throw a toddler into a pool, the
Mhm.
toddler will cease to be conscious because the toddler will die.
And you will be
What's
a
your
murderer
point
because that was
here?
a
It's not a
living,
fetus.
conscious being that is capable of living, has already achieved consciousness, and is living on the outside of the womb, but you're going out of it your way to make it die.
Okay, so then if you kill a living conscious human, otherwise known as a fetus, past about 20 weeks, you are also committing murder because you are
No.
ending the consciousness of a human life. So
Incorrect.
are you saying your cutoff point is 20 weeks now?
Nope, I'm definitely not. I'm saying we were talking about the pre-consciousness thing and that according to your own standards, your standard can't meet what you're saying. That doesn't mean I've adopted just the plain English opposite of your standard. Now, when actually asked about my position, I do tell people, it seems to me that how deeply you need to consider it becomes different after consciousness has been achieved. So if you're asking my opinion, I don't actually get a say, but if a person asks my say on it, I will say prior to consciousness, I don't see it as any more moral or immoral as taking a poop. But past that, I do think it is worth some extra consideration, especially the further you get into late term. And again, why most late term abortions are actually delivery, just having a baby sooner than you are going to have. And then late-term abortions that actually end the life are, as we already described, the way the types of things we talked about are either extremely dangerous for the fetus or extremely dangerous for the mother, those kinds of things. But no, the opposite of the position that you've presented in an unnuanced way does not mean that I have to have an equally unnuanced position opposite of yours, because at the end of the day, it still is about autonomy, and no individual, no matter how conscious or vulnerable they are, has the right to another person's body to run their organs. We don't even do that as far as you can give a child up to it for adoption.
You can't kill any human fetus past conception because that fetus also has bodily autonomy.
Incorrect.
That's fair. And after that point,
That is
after
what
that
you
point, if you
just said.
don't,
You just said that any human being cannot have their bodily autonomy violated.
I said you do not have the right to violate a
Therefore,
human's
you
body
cannot
by
kill them because that would be
subsisting
a
off of
violation
them.
of bodily autonomy.
You can't kill them by subsisting off of them. That would be the actual thing. Do you see how you're doing it again, though? You're sitting here going, I'm going to try and pretend I can pick apart his position, which you have failed monumentally every time to do. Because the violation of autonomy, it's my body. Cutting you off from that and then you dying separate of that is completely not a violation of your autonomy. I think it's actually a kindness that we do if something is conscious, that we put it to sleep. But again, we only do that in the case of the suffering, because that's when the late term abortions come in. You, if you have not had a conscious experience, do not have autonomy. Even if we wanted to start talking about, do we start thinking about the autonomy of something in utero? And then even when you do, even with autonomy, you do not get to violate the autonomy of somebody else. There is no, you can consent indefinitely to something parasitically living off of you. So now that you've failed yet again to try and, instead of making it about where your position comes into play and proving your actual position, which is just an emotional appeal, and even as you say, is not a religious argument, sounds exactly like a religious argument, when are you going to start trying to actually justify your position instead of coming after mine?
I have not done that.
And yet you sound exactly like one, because you come from a Christian... Buddy, you're MAGA. You're literally a Christian nationalist, despite the fact that you're saying you aren't a Christian.
I am an agnostic. I do not follow any religion.
Hey, Tyler, guess what? You're an agnostic Christian nationalist. Did you know black people can be white supremacists? Candace Owens is one such individual. And you are an agnostic white Christian nationalist.
Okay, first of all, I never said that I am white. You do not know my race.
And I didn't say you were white either. I said you're a white Christian nationalist, just like I moments ago said Candace Owens is a white supremacist. It's weird that you can't understand these very basic concepts.
Or Candace Owens is a white supremacist.
You are both.
What evidence do you have?
Oh, we'll get into it after you give me the evidence of your position on abortion, which you still haven't gone there.
I have gone there.
No, you haven't. You've only tried to go. So you're saying...
So I have already stated my position on abortion. I stated my position at the very start of this conversation.
I know your position. You haven't given your proof of it.
My proof is science and logic.
You haven't actually... Okay, my proof is science and logic.
Boom.
There you go, Tyler.
Oh.
I just gave you the science, and I just gave you the proof. I said it's science and logic. I'm doing what you're saying back. Do you want my proof right now that you're a white Christian nationalist?
Sure, let's go
science
to that.
And logic. Science and logic.
That's not how that works. So,
excuse me, you just said that's how it works. You just presented it like that's how that works.
Hold on.
You're starting to realize how bad you're doing, aren't you?
When I don't believe in race categories.
Science and logic. Oh, you hate it when it's brought back to you. Go ahead, ask me another one.
Race is not scientific. Race is a social category that has been made up by man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it is irrelevant. It should not have any place in society.
Yep, and you're racist, though.
Am I sounding like a racist now?
No, but you are a racist. The things you just said, no, but you are racist. You are a Christian white supremacist, a white Christian nationalist.
Can you give me actual evidence that I am a Christian white supremacist?
Yeah, my evidence is science and logic.
Okay. Can you give me any evidence besides science and logic that I am
That's
anything
adequate.
You have accused me of being?
Science and logic is adequate. Thank you for implicitly conceding that science and logic gets one to that conclusion, though.
Okay.
Can you imagine that phrase in isolation, though? Can you give me any evidence besides science and logic that I am a racist? That's a fucking wild sentence to want out there on the internet. I'm not going to clip it, Tyler, but who might? Good Lord. By the way, if anybody who actually wants to honestly engage and it's not good enough to just say science and logic for them or me, that's my evidence, that's that number right up there. We would love to talk to MAGA people who are honest. For the record, MAGA, I know you don't claim Tyler as one of your own. He's really, really bad at it. This is one of those Dunning-Kruger things. You can tell in his voice. He thinks he's brilliant. He's not. Makes appeals to common sense because Tyler thinks that is the height of information would be common sense. So anyway, science, MAGA, I don't hold Tyler against you. And if you want to call in and be the MAGA person who actually speaks a little more honestly, more directly, and when said is I can offer the proof, actually offers the proof. There's that phone number up there, 33654-32101. Yes, I can.
Name it. Go.
The science and logic.
I have not lied about any science or logic.
Yeah. Oh, you did. You did.
When?
When you said science and logic.
That's not... Okay, so now you're answering the question with the question. That's a logical fallacy.
What I'm actually answering it with is science and logic. Wait, I can prove it's not a fallacy, Tyler. You want me to prove it's not a fallacy?
You're going to say science and logic again?
It's because of science and logic. Do you see how annoying it is, Tyler? By the way, if you ever want to get this back on track, all you have to do is start presenting the actual proof and we'll get out of this category. But why should I sit here and continue to present actual facts, continue to actually be honest as an interlocutor when you now, after how many minutes, have yet to begin? We're at 21 minutes and you have yet to be an honest interlocutor. And when you just want to say the evidence is science and logic, but not present the evidence, or then on the rare occasion you present something that you think is scientific and it's pointed out that that's bullshit, and you go, but it's common sense, which would mean it isn't science. We don't send doctors, even abortion doctors, to common sense schools. And you want to commit fallacy after fallacy and then go, where's your proof? I gave you the proof. I told you my position at the beginning of the call, which a position is not proof. Tyler, I don't know. The only honest thing about you is that I honestly think you don't know how bad you're doing.
Okay, so...
Science and logic.
Okay, so if you want actual evidence,
yeah,
let's find some evidence.
Great.
So in the state of Wisconsin, if I remember the numbers correctly, it is 90% of women do not receive an ultrasound before their abortion.
Okay.
Is that a bad thing?
And what is that evidence of?
That is evidence that they do not know what they're doing.
Do not know what they're doing. Why?
At least the majority of the time. Because
why?
The abortionist doctors do not want them to know for what they are doing. They do not want them to know that they are murdering a human being. And
okay, so what if I say, because this isn't scientific evidence, this is you getting emotional again. So what if
I think a pregnant woman is very aware.
This is an emotional argument. You're saying that they need to see the ultrasound because they might have an emotional response and then agree with you that this is a human being on the basis of your emotion. When an ultrasound, Tyler, I know a person like you would think that this is good until an ultrasound becomes so advanced that you actually get like a little 3D model and it looks accurate and you can color and all this thing and see that it looks like a little fucked up bean and get the scale and it's got a tail and looks like an absolute fucking weirdo, because that will be less compelling. What you really want is the black and white. Yes, but it is not. That is not what you get from an ultrasound because those are much more expensive. What you want is that little black and white that looks kind of babyish. And if you angle it just right, you don't see their fucked up tail. You are literally saying this person who may have made an analytical decision, am I able to support this? You need to show them a picture that may emotionally manipulate them into thinking that that is more of a living human being than it actually is, that thing is a thing with conscious existence, that it resembles babies that you have seen. So you're going to be basically anthropomorphizing it to another baby. This is you said you're going to give evidence of something, and then you go 90% of women in Wisconsin don't see an ultrasound. Who fucking cares? The only evaluation you need to do if you're worried about Whether they know the thing is conscious is how long since your last period. That's going to cover 99.9%, but you would like to emotionally blackmail them into thinking that they're basically seeing a living baby on the outside that and associating it with their image of a baby on the outside, and maybe that would undermine their good reasons for aborting it.
Okay, fine. Let's try this argument. Are you not at all concerned that abortion is racist?
Wait. Real quick. Before we move to that one, if you want to move to it, you first need to concede to the one prior, because you said, okay, fine. I need okay, fine to end with, you're right, I lost that one.
I am not conceding. You have not defeated any of my arguments.
Then I will listen to your counterpoint that defeats mine. Because right now, anybody listening, you went, okay, fine, as a way of giving up because you can't counter it.
Oh, jeez. We have a lot to learn.
Yeah, like how to debate, how to actually prove our points, what evidence is. Then again, it's science and logic. I remember you said you were 21. That adds up.
What do you mean? What does my age have anything to do with this?
You sound like a young, ignorant American, self-entitled. Tyler, are you white?
I am white. Why does that matter?
It's just funny that earlier you were like, I never said I was white, and yet I already knew.
Okay, and
because of
how
logic
is that
and science.
relevant?
Oh, it's relevant to the rest of this whole thing.
Okay.
The amount of utter privilege, because like next you want to go toward a socioeconomic issue of where you're going to say it's racist because Black people utilize abortion more often than white people, but you're not going to at all support the policies, because as you said with MAGA, you are against universal health care, which basically means you are against the policies of economically supporting all people, no matter what class they were born into, and making sure that their basic needs are met, therefore equalizing whether or not people have the opportunities and financial convenience to actually have a baby. But you are going to lament that Black people who are disproportionately put into poverty by our system and the system that we absolutely put them into, that they may be more willing to utilize a service because they are not financially prepared for it. That's the thing that you're about to complain about and then call it racist instead of getting rid of all of the racist issues that lead to there. And then you would actually see an equalizing of whether or not white versus Black people and other races utilize it similar. If you give everybody access to the same amount of economic opportunity as well as meet their basic needs, you're going to see it equalize it out. But you don't want to fix that. You just want to stop Black women from getting abortions. But that's why it's racist. I can already get ahead of the stupid thing you're going to say next. And it's because I already know the profile of a 21-year-old white male incel who doesn't realize they're a white nationalist white Christian nationalist. Sorry, I missed a word in there.
Okay, predict what I was going to say next. What was I going to say next?
I didn't say I can predict like a psychic. I'm not a monkey that can dance for you. But actually, you know what, Tyler? I got it. You were going to say science and logic.
No, I was going to tell you the history of Margaret Sanger and how she was a raging racist and white supremacist.
You're going to say science and logic.
No, I was not.
I wouldn't care whether or not Margaret Sanger was a racist. If Margaret, yes, I know who the founder of Planned Parenthood was. And even if you could prove that she was in fact herself a racist, it would not then to me go, all right, let's stop letting Black people have abortions because a racist was cool with it.
She was a racist and eugenicist. She wrote in her book that, quote, we cannot let the Negroes know that we are trying to exterminate them.
Hey, Tyler. Do you remember that part where I said it won't change anything even if we agree she was racist?
So you do agree she was racist?
My position on her will not matter, and I'm not going to let you continue to try and derail from it. It won't matter.
Okay.
Racist or not, I can either give you the point or not. It won't matter. I'm not going to take abortion rights away from Black people because there was a white person who thought it was important that they have the rights for racist reasons. Just like I'm not going to stop supporting the ceasefire in Gaza just because an anti-Semite like Marjorie Taylor Greene right now supports it as well. but for anti-Semitic reasons. Her reasons, being anti-Israel and anti-Jewish, are different than my reasons. I am anti-Israel, but I'm definitely not anti-Jewish. Therefore, the conclusion, I'm not going to stop because she has bad reasons for it. Again, you don't know the fallacies, even as I think you tried to call a fallacy.
That is not my point. My point is that we have agreed on something, and therefore we have made some amount of progress.
No, that is not your point. Shut the fuck up, Tyler. I'm not stupid. Unlike you, I wasn't born yesterday.
My point.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Here's your popcorn, Mr. At this point, I'm just going to mock at every level. There's another person who maybe is on the hold who might actually engage a little more honestly than you, and then not pretend they're going a different route.
Sure, you can mock me all you want. I literally do not care.
Tyler, honestly, it is recreational though, because I don't need to do it. I can just play your own words and it does the job for me.
Science and logic.
Cool. I literally don't care.
I think you care.
I literally could not care less.
I think you could not care less.
Quite
not even a little?
Yes.
Not even so much that you wouldn't have responded at all. I feel a person who has responded could care less. I actually think the less you care, the less one would protest or emphasize how little one cares. So I submit you could care less because of science and logic.
Okay, I have an idea for you. I have somebody I want you to debate.
Great, who?
I want you to debate Hayden Rodia.
I don't know who that is, but Hayden is welcome to call in.
Either one.
You get Hayden or Trent to call in and we'll be doing it. But thank you for acknowledging that you're not capable and you need the
I'm sure
you need
you
the
can
people.
Find them and call them too.
Tyler, that's not my job. My job is to take the debates. I don't know who Hayden or Trent are, so why am I just going to listen to like, hey, somebody just gave me 2 names. I'm going to go out of my way. You want me to debate them. That's your desire. I want to debate whoever. Excuse me, Tyler. You want me to debate them.
Yes.
That's your desire. I don't know who these people are, so I don't care. I don't have the desire. So if you would like that to happen, you facilitate it. If you want them to call in, they can. If you want me to go on their program, they merely have to pay my appearance fee because they are going to make money doing so. I don't do this shit for free. It's my job. So $5,000, it's pretty easy. I appear on their show or they call into this show. Either way is fine.
All right. I will message them on Instagram and tell them to come debate you.
Excellent.
Probably not going to respond because they don't know who I am. But
who does?
My family and friends?
Get them to debate me.
Huh? What?
I'll debate your family and friends.
Well,
you're already making excuses why these people that you're putting on me that I have to debate.
Debates as much as I do. I'm the only one in my family or friend group that really cares about political debate.
I suspect that is true, but I also suspect that they are more capable of debating than you are.
Well, maybe my dad, but
no, I bet most of them are. I don't think you actually realize you're very bad at it. At this point, it's like playing with my food.
Then sure.
I think I do believe that. And I feel that most people, even on your own side, would watch this video and go, I believe that too. I think Tyler's not that good. I'm not saying they're going to say they love me, but I think they'll agree you're no good.
That's fine.
Anyway,
I don't care.
Thanks, Tyler, who doesn't care so much. He's still on, even as I fuck with him. But he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the things we say about him. He doesn't want to. He just can't leave, and he definitely can't let us have a last word, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care. Science and logic.
Okay. Can you give me any evidence for your position being supported?
Science and logic. The funny thing is it's funny that you actually have to, it is very funny that you have to say that because I have on multiple occasions presented evidence despite the fact that you said you would. I actually did present evidence multiple times during this call, and it doesn't surprise me that you can't recognize evidence. I don't think you'd recognize evidence if you bitch on the ass.
When I tried to get into science, you didn't even know what I was talking about.
Would you give me statistics? What's funny is I actually have given you statistics on this call as well. Summaries, but statistics nonetheless.
What statistics?
The
Statistics
science
about
and the
what?
logic. The science and the logic.
Okay, we're not
You're so
going
good at
anywhere
this,
with
Tyler.
man.
Tyler, why are you still here? Also, by the way, MAGA people who are considering calling and being more honest, we have another call we're going to get to here in just a moment. But 33654-32101, you have with you here. Y'all are pro Project 2025. Y'all doing your thing. Come and support that you are against sex work, OnlyFans, prostitution, anything. You literally have an expert on the matter here, and we're wasting time talking to Tyler about his terrible reasons
I am against
about
sex
abortion,
work.
all of his odds.
You're against. Hold on, we could get somewhere. Wait, you're against sex work, you said,
Can
Tyler?
we?
I am
For
against
science and logic.
sex work. Yes, I am against sex work
Why?
Why?
because it is degeneracy and bad for society.
Why?
Because it causes higher rates of homelessness, higher rates of fatherlessness, which fatherlessness is
I don't know.
really
I
bad.
pay
Sorry, wait,
for
what was
my
the second word?
apartment.
What was the second one? Higher rates of homelessness and higher rate of what?
Fatherlessness.
Fatherlessness. Okay. I think
Children
you
without a
seem to
father,
be.
yes, which is
I
possibly the worst thing that our country is facing right now.
Oh, interesting. That's
Well-
the worst thing that we're
well-
facing right now. That's crazy.
Just to be
one of the
clear,
Go
I
ahead,
pay
Adalind.
for I pay my entire rent with my OnlyFans funds and pretty much everything I own, and I love my father very much. So I don't know. I don't think. I mean,
Do
I
you
know
have
I'm
a
only
good
one
relationship
person.
with your father?
I do. I love him very much.
I'm surprised.
Oof, Tyler.
Does he support
Tyler,
what
oof.
you do?
Your emotional appeal is not working here because you actually have a person that breaks the mold. And by the way, you don't even recognize that the thing that you actually mean to say is illegal sex work leads to homelessness. Illegal sex work. And by the way, not having access to comprehensive healthcare for everyone, as well as good economic positions, leads to fatherlessness. But we are getting closer to where you're like, I'm not racist. And yet I know your fatherlessness thing is going to end in racist claims as well. But anyway, Tyler, so you just asked
No,
her
it
if she
does
has a
not.
good relationship with her father. She just told you yes. What say you, Tyler?
Does your father support what you were doing?
Hold on.
Wouldn't
We asked
matter.
you a question here.
You asked what I say.
It has already broken your model that of homelessness. She has a home. She pays for it with her OnlyFans thing. Not only that,
Okay.
buddy, I've got an
Okay, so
OnlyFans
she's
model
an
of a best
exception
friend
to the
who
rule.
uses her
So what?
OnlyFans proceeds to run her literal dog shelter. So it's an interesting thought here. How does sex work lead to homelessness? Precisely. Break it down, Tyler.
Because it leads to, really it stems from fatherlessness, but because it creates more fatherlessness, which then
How does it create more
fatherlessness creates
fatherlessness?
more homelessness, more poverty, higher rates of high school
Excuse me.
dropout, higher rates of drug use,
Okay.
higher rates of incarceration.
Stop,
higher
Tyler,
rates of
Tyler.
illiteracy,
You are
everything
Okay, I'm going to mute you because you can't help yourself. I know why you're now trying to talk over me because you know I'm going to back you up and go, how does it create more fatherlessness, which you're not prepared to actually answer or provide any evidence for. So we're going to try this again, and we're going to unmute you. The most insufferable call I think we've had since starting calling it now. How does sex work lead to more fatherlessness?
Because sex work has people having sex. Sex creates babies. Do I really need to explain this to you?
You do. And how
Here's
does
another
creating...
thing.
I was just going to say...
I just want to add to that.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say it creates more babies doing sex work. I just want to add that I'm actually surgically sterilized, so no babies are coming out of me.
So Tyler, you would support sex work if the sex workers are surgically sterilized, right? Since there would be no risk of fatherlessness?
No,
okay,
I would
so
not.
fatherlessness. Okay, wait, Tyler. So now, because you need to be schooled
I
on
don't
debate,
support sex
we've
work
just
under
proven
any circumstances.
We've just proven that fatherlessness is not actually the basis upon which you oppose sex work, because if you take the possibility
It's
of
not
fatherlessness,
entirely fatherlessness, but it's
Tyler,
partially
no,
fatherlessness.
Tyler, it isn't the basis. Period. If removing that doesn't change your position, then it's not an important point. You can say that on top of the actual reason, fatherlessness is another negative in there, but the actual reason I am against sex work is blank, fatherlessness notwithstanding. So you went to fatherlessness, which you said is the core issue. You've just had it shown to you that that doesn't matter. So what, having nothing to do with fatherlessness,
issues.
Great. What is the
only
actual
one of
core
them.
issue that if you mitigate it, if we get rid of the possibility of that issue, it's still, you would still say, in other words, don't use any of the same things. Give me a thing that if we just mitigate it, wouldn't undermine your points at all. What is the thing that there is zero mitigation for? There's no way to get around, and therefore sex work must remain illegal.
The destruction of society.
And how
does it
does
disrupt
sex
society?
work cause the destruction of society? God, he's so bad at this.
Because it creates weak men.
How does it
And
create
weak men will destroy the society from the inside.
How does it destroy weak men?
Well, it doesn't destroy weak men, it creates weak men, and then
How
the
does
weak
it
men
create
destroy
weak men?
society from the inside. So
How does it create weak men?
I don't, because it.
I'm writing the notes down. No, sorry. Don't use a dear Lord an exacerbation of like, oh my God, this is so obvious because you need time to think because you don't know the answer. How does it create weak men?
So it creates weak men by lowering their view of women.
Why does it lower their view of women?
Because they see the women as nothing more than sex objects.
Okay, because they objectify the women. And now he's getting so close. He's getting so close. Let me finish the process with him.
No.
Hang on. They see the women as objects. They objectify the women. That's what you just said, right?
The women are also objectifying themselves.
Great. And why does that cause a man to be weak to objectify women?
Because he's going to be spending all day just like watching porn or whatever, and then he's not going to be going out and bettering himself, reading books, learning history, like listening to podcasts or whatever.
Explain to me then, Tyler, because the thing you almost got to was the reason why it's quote unquote creating weak men, incels such as yourself, is because you are participating in a culture which tells you that sex is wrong, that tells you which sex is bad, and that people, especially women who enjoy it, are lesser. And if you just look to other societies that don't have such stupid reasons for stupid justification for, we're not done, for stupid justifications who actually do allow sex work, who do allow prostitution, you don't find that their economies all shut down because all of the men are just inside. In fact, you said we're no longer going to have, the men aren't going to be going out learning history. They're not going to be learning. And yet the people who you, I suspect, think are the strong men, the MAGA men, let's go look at the statistics that you like to look at on porn use in their states. But then let's also go look at the fact that many very professional people are sex positive. So once again, we're on a thing of if you mitigate that by fixing culture and teaching people that a person is not worth less if they engage their sexuality, would you still be against it?
No, they are not worth less. They are not a lesser human being.
And yet that is what you are complaining makes weak men, is that that's how men will perceive them because culture teaches them that. That is your problem, that they are objectifying them. They aren't literally objects.
So then we have to prevent the culture from teaching them that.
Right, teaching the men that who are doing that way, not telling the people that they can't do sex work. You correct the cultural inaccuracy about prostitutes the same way we're trying to correct the cultural inaccuracies about how people feel about queer people, black people, all the people that your people have hated for the last century, several centuries, all of human history, really. If I'm talking about your people, your conservative people. So you correct the culture. You don't prohibit the people who aren't doing anything wrong.
Which party abolished slavery?
The liberals.
Wrong. It was the Republican Party. The Republican Party.
The liberal Republican. Excuse me. The liberal Republicans. Abraham Lincoln was not a conservative. It's beautiful that you think, once again, you have a gotcha because you're going to ignore the party swap. Liberalism and conservatism are separate from Republican and Democrat. The conservatives were the South. That is why their ancestors right now are the ones who revere them in the South. My great-great-grandfather was the Confederate and he was the best man who ever lived. And they're now Republicans, even though their great-great-grandfather was a Democrat, because they have the same values because they're both conservative. Learn about the party swap, my friend.
Party swap was a myth.
And yet
Party
it
swap
isn't. And
was a
I've
myth.
just explained to you one of the ways it isn't. It absolutely is not a myth because you can demonstrate that Lincoln was a liberal Republican, and that his opposition was during the Civil War, who wanted to maintain the old way of things and have maximum states' rights, Republicans or Democrats?
Well, by the old way of things, you would mean slavery, which was the Democrats.
Who wanted? I like how you're changing it. On the basis of what? The Democrats wanted slavery to be honored because they revered what? What? It rhymes with Bates, bites. Bates bites.
Because they revered racism?
States' rights. Now, who is the party of states' rights now? Go ahead. Even on the level of actual civil rights, which party is it?
Of Republicans.
Oh, interesting. So the states' rights people, the party of states' rights back then were Democrats, and the party of states' rights now are Republicans, but the parties haven't swapped. Weird acknowledgement there, Tyler. You just said the opposite of what you said the moment prior.
Okay, so how are states' rights bad? And also,
I never said
rights
states' rights were bad.
But
But actually, states' rights, going to states' rights for actual human rights and civil rights, that's horrible. The idea of if you have a unified government at a federal level, that you would say whether a black person is worthy of ownership should be different based in Tennessee versus California. Are you fucking insane? Why are states' rights wrong when it comes to those matters? Are you crazy?
No, I have never said that. And if that was happening, I would wholeheartedly oppose it. I would fight
and
against
yet,
it.
That was your opposition to my argument, which was the Republicans were the states' rights people back then when it came to slavery, civil rights. That was what they ran on, rather Democrats. And now they are the Republicans, and their ancestors they have not changed their views from their ancestors and still revere. They just ignore that their ancestors are Democrats. They're still saying, those are my values. I have those Christian, nationalist, states' rights values. I guess we do have another call potentially.
People who are super chatting.
People who are super chatting or in the chat right now, I'll let you decide if we should continue with Tyler. If we hit as soon as we get, we'll just say $100 worth of super chats, we'll drop this guy. So $100 total of super chats if you want to.
Is America more racist now than it was in 1860?
Of course not.
So then why are you claiming that I am the same racist as my ancestors?
Oh, no. You're just as racist as 1860. Excuse me. Tyler, you asked if the country was. You didn't ask if you were just as racist. I suspect so.
So then,
I suspect that if we were to transplant you with, I think if we transplanted you,
it was in the 1960s. Why are you claiming?
You said 1860s.
That everyone is still the same racist.
Excuse me. You said 1860s first. Now you've just switched to 1960s.
Yes.
And we're talking about whether the party swap. Tyler, we're talking about whether the party swap happened, which you're desperately trying to get away from because you've already admitted it happened after saying it didn't. Do you have trouble keeping track, Tyler?
No, I do not.
It seems like you're having trouble keeping track. We're 15% of the way there. We're keeping Tyler until we hit it. We got bills to pay over here, people. Get them super chats in.
Hey, I got bills to pay too. I paid my car insurance yesterday.
Well, Tyler,
So
if
do
you
I.
actually
That's
became
why
a
I
good
do
debater,
OnlyFans.
become a good debater with actually good, consistent morals, maybe one day I'll end up paying you. Right now, you are far from it.
I'm planning on it. I'm planning on getting better at debating. It's a skill I want to develop.
You're going the wrong direction.
I don't think so.
Mm.
And Also, how am I going the wrong direction when I'm currently debating you and gaining debate experience?
Because you are under the delusion that you are doing well and winning, and you're actually doing terribly on totally taking the topic out, just the objective means of what is effective ways to debate. What's that?
The real delusion is you believing that America is racist today.
Oh, is it? Is that the delusion? That's the delusion?
Yes, that is a delusion.
Wow. How many topics are we going to get to before you can actually show me the science and logic to abortion? The way you absolutely flop around, and there's no topic you've been able to bring up that I haven't been able to show you're ignorant as fuck on. I'm mostly just worried we get started and then we're only at 25% of the way there. Mm-hmm. Sorry, what?
Fine, let's try this one. Let's try this one. Can you name me one thing that a white person in America can do today that a black person cannot do?
It's very funny that you're once again going with a fallacy.
How is that a fallacy?
Sure. Great. If I create a system by which I have $100 bills, and I make sure that 98 of them go to white people and 2 of them go to black people, but those 2 black people are at random, is it not racist because the 2 black people got the $100 bills? So technically any black person could have gotten those $100 bills?
No, that would be racist, but that's not how our system works.
You sure about that?
Really?
Yes, I am very sure about that.
And yet I don't think you are. Well, no, you might be sure about that. I just am aware that you're wrong.
Do you have evidence?
Lots.
Okay, give me some evidence.
By the way, people, we are so far at $50, so we're only half of the way of dropping this nonsense person. Tyler, what is redlining?
Redlining is the practice of denying a person housing, generally a racial minority, because you don't want them in your house, and it has not been happening regularly since the 1960s, since the Civil Rights Act. So,
excuse me, it's not been happening regularly? What does that word regularly mean?
It has been illegal since the Civil Rights Act.
Mm-hmm. And what is
we all know that when things are
for it to still happen, but it is not legal.
So what does it mean? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and we all know that when things are illegal, they never happen.
So what does it mean for it to be illegal? What specifically is illegal?
It means it's against the law.
No, but specifically, what is illegal about redlining? What can't you do now that you used to be able to do before redlining was illegal?
I can get out. There isn't anything. Nothing changed for me.
No. What? Okay, I forgot. We already established that you're bad at following. You used to be able to do something when redlining was legal. Now you can't do something because it's illegal. Because if you do that thing as a lender, do you actually know who it is that redlines? Like, do you know who the redliners were?
Homeowners?
No.
The homeowners or the banks?
Yes, the banks. The homeowners is a fucking weird answer. The banks, the insurance companies.
Are you aware of what renting a house is?
Homeowners, when you said the homeowners is different as a broad category than the landlord, even though homeowners become landlords. Saying broadly homeowners are what the black people were being redlined against were trying to become. Can somebody tell me if we've hit what number we're at so far? Is anybody else keeping track? It is weird because you speak so confident. Well, it's not weird. I know about Dunning-Kruger. Let me just add this up real quick. 15, 20, 25, 35, 40, 50, 55, 65, 70, 75, 25 more dollars. I'm just surprised Tyler has stayed on the line because he knows we're raising money as long as he stays on the line, that he's actively contributing to it. Redlining.
That's fine.
You can no
People
longer
can donate
legally
however much they want, dude.
put on the basis of race. So I'm sorry. Or wait, I think we need $5 more. If I just said 70, did I say 70 or 75? Whatever it was. We're going to be dropped. Okay, 75. So we are dropping you. So here's the mute, Tyler, because you no longer get to speak. And the last words to you are redlining made illegal to say that it is on the basis of the person being a person of color, that you are denying them a loan, you are denying them housing, you're denying whatever. And yet, despite the fact that study after study shows that even when you have two people with the exact same qualifications, you are still less likely to qualify if you are a Black person, because making it illegal did not prevent it from being systemic. And now we have regulations coming out from this very administration to make sure that going through other steps and calling it other things basically is legal. In fact, we're seeing a type of redlining, but not over mortgages and the like, but when it comes to voting, to now where the Supreme Court used to say, you can't do this on the basis of race, they go and target heavily Black areas and say, no, it's not on race. It's expected political affiliation based on race, but it's the political affiliation, not the race itself, thereby preventing them both voting in people who would actually help them and improve their policy position, and lowering actual redlining, because those policies are what you would need. Tyler, you have literally all of your work to do ahead of you, plus the deprogramming from the propaganda nonsense before you are a person who should ever vote. I wished I believe in God, because I only wish to end this call with, may God have mercy on your soul. But frankly, if God had any mercy, he wouldn't have subjected me to your call in the first place. Goodbye, Tyler.